Since I was a little girl, my sisters and I had frightening experiences with ghosts. When I was 6, my family and I moved to a fairly new house, only 8 years old at the time, in West Texas. As far back as I can remember, we had strange things going on in that house. First off, at night, if you were to go through the hallway to get to my parents' room, you would always hear what sounded like a TV. You could hear voices and sometimes music. Most of the time, my parents' TV was off. If you left the room and stood in the hallway again, the sounds would be gone. Secondly, when I would try to go to sleep at night, I would always have that classic someone's watching me feeling. I always blamed it on me, being a young child. The house was a very scary place to be at night. Wherever you went, someone was watching you. Friends who have spent the night rarely stayed twice. The areas of the house that scared everyone the worst were the hallways to my parents' room and my older sister's closet. The closet always had a feeling of hate radiating from it. I tried to spend a night in there with my scared sister, and didn't last. I was sleeping on the floor with my head next to the closet, and that just wasn't a good feeling. I went back to my room after she fell asleep. A couple years after we moved in, my younger sister had a frightening experience. Her and I shared a bedroom with our beds parallel to each other, with a nightstand in between us. We were about 3 feet apart. One night, I woke up to her screaming my name. I woke up and asked what was wrong. She told me that, for no reason at all, she woke up and looked over at my bed. Laying at the foot of my bed, she saw a light blue, glowing figure of a woman. Her eyes were gone, and her mouth hung open. My sister described her as looking dead. My sister also added that she couldn't see me anywhere on the bed, so she started screaming my name and closed her eyes. When she opened them, I was awake, asking her what was wrong. She told me, and I looked down at the foot of my bed, and my huge stuffed animal that I had there every night was sparking like it had really bad static electricity. I took it off my bed and threw it in my bathroom sink and ran water over it. Being young, I thought it would help. Years later, my family and I moved to southern Louisiana and moved into a gated subdivision. One night my 2 sisters were mad at me and left the house to go on a walk. I followed them without them knowing. I followed them up to the front gate of the subdivision and talked to them for a minute. They quickly left in a huff, being that they were still angry with me. For what? I don't remember now. I stayed by the gate for a couple of minutes afterwards, and then decided to run to the end of the main street and hide behind some bushes that faced the gate. I waited for my sisters to walk by, and when they did, unaware of where I was hiding, they stopped remotely in front of the bushes. I heard my younger sister say, "What is Jenny, me, doing, sitting on top of that stop sign?" The stop sign is located next to the gate. After that, they walked on. I was a bit confused. It was about to chase after them, but then, through the leaves, I saw a shadow of someone running past the bushes I was behind. I could also hear the sound of footsteps. I stood up quickly to see who was there. No one was in sight. After this, I ran to my sisters and told them what I had seen. They then told me that they saw me, or what looked like me, sitting on top of the stop sign. They said I had a very angry, disfiguring grin. After we traded stories, we ran home quickly. Later, my younger sister told me that the ghost she saw on my bed and the ghost she saw on the stop sign both looked exactly like me. Possible doppelganger? I don't know. It all began around the 1st of June, this very year. This incident took place in my grandmother and grandfather's house. My grandfather had been diagnosed with cancer in the summer of 1998, and I didn't know that these last few months would be the last time I would ever see him alive. During that period of time, I'd spent a whole lot of time with my grandparents, and had felt like I actually gotten a little closer to them both, but especially my grandfather. At the end of the summer, I left and went back home. Subsequently, about 5 months later, our family received a disturbing phone call. It was from my grandmother. Unfortunately, she informed us about the passing of our grandfather. He had passed away in the hospital. We went back to our grandmother's home, which was the very last place that our grandfather lived in before his passing. A month and a half after we had been staying there, I noticed that something just didn't feel right. The whole atmosphere had changed. I decided to take the guest room. For some reason, I always got the feeling that I was being watched in the guest room. Then, other little occurrences started to evolve. The very first was, I always felt like somebody was standing over my shoulder. I started to notice scars on my back after I would awake in the mornings, and I would feel light touches on my back. My mom and brother both complained about the door handles being rattled and opening and closing really fast. Cabinet doors would fly open, and the pots and pans would all fall out. My hair would get pulled in the night. Objects would fall from midair, such as paper, and I would hear voices, one of which said, "Wake up," very loudly in my ear. I would see mists and rays of light shoot past me extremely fast, and so fast in fact, I could feel a whoosh of air. I would notice some of my belongings missing, such as my CDs, jewelry, and money to name a few. Usually the belongings that I would use around the house a lot. I would feel my bed move, as if someone were to bump into it during the night. Flickering lights, and last, but certainly not least, since animals can sometimes see things that humans cannot see, my cat would turn her head really fast and just stare at something, which I would not be able to see for a significant amount of time. A little while later, about a month after being there, I saw the unthinkable. After I had sound sleep for about 7 hours or so, I woke up suddenly to a spirit at the foot of my bed, and it was my grandfather. I could not believe what I was seeing, but I will describe this to you in full detail. There was no doubt in my mind that this was actually a spirit. He was shadow-like, but his clothing was colored. He would always wave at me, and sure enough, he was waving in my direction with a smile on his face. It was plain to see that he was trying to get my attention. He just wanted to see me. I was too afraid to move a muscle, in fear that in spite of everything else, that he would approach me. I had never seen anything like this before in my entire life. I didn't want to tell this to anyone though. I thought that nobody would believe me, or even listen. About a week later, I was in the kitchen with my mom, and she told me that the guest room was where our grandpa had stayed before he died, because he was too ill. That explains the reason why that very room felt like the most eerie room in the house. I almost fainted whenever I discovered that, but I knew that a spirit can travel anywhere in the home, even outside or in back of the house. But it wasn't until a month later that I decided to come out with the news. I first confided in my mom and brother, and my mother believed me, because she said that before I brought up anything that I had said. Our grandmother had experienced the exact same thing, that he was at the foot of the bed watching over her and smiling. I had a phone conversation with her, and I let her do all the talking fast, and everything that she told me measured up with my experience. And it only happened to my grandmother and I, whom he was the closest with, before he passed away. Everyone was wondering why I didn't scream or attempt to run out of the guest room as soon as I saw him, but I was too afraid. Whenever you're that close to something like that, it just takes your breath away completely. I was in my own little calm. I felt very uncomfortable. It wasn't until I started sleeping in the living room sofa that I felt appeased. Albeit, this has not been my first experience. Ever since I was the age of 5, my family and I started traveling around a lot, and we would move here and there. I've went to 9 different schools total. I'm 17 now, in previous homes, I've experienced a whole lot. I lived in a haunted house for a total of 3 years. Not only by all the experiences that I've endured, I've been doing many researches involving the paranormal. I'm really good at picking up on things too, which I've found out. There was this one house that we went into that we were thinking about purchasing, but I felt like something was wrong. There were many rooms in the home that I could just not stop venturing off into. The main ones were the master bedroom and the study. After I left the house, I told my parents that someone from the house must have passed away, someone that used to stay in the master bedroom. So, my mom went to go look up the history of the house, and sure enough, the owner and his wife, on a trip to California, got killed in a car wreck, and they lived in the master bedroom, and the owner spent most of his time in the study. After I was enlightened with that information, I was in disbelief. I still am, even to this day. My mom told me that it goes back to her being Jewish and Indian. She said that she can pick up on and see things too. She claims that it's an Indian thing, but I don't know. Maybe it is. Anyways, God bless everyone, and thank you for your time. Great website, by the way. I'm a current visitor. Hello. I have a lot of experiences to share. I've been told that I'm more in tune with the spiritual world, and that's why a lot of stuff happens to me. Anyways, I'll just share some that I can remember. One night, my friend Amanda was having a sleepover with 3 other girls, and someone brought along a Ouija to play. We were playing and having fun because it was spooky. After that, we went to sleep at about 12, and we slept on a trundle that came out of the couch. We were the only ones in the house because her mom was out. Anyways, I woke up and shook everyone awake because I had a bad feeling, and I heard the closet door slamming all night. It was pitch black, so I told for my friend to turn on the light. She did, but it blew out. She tried it again, but it blew out once more. I thought bulbs can only blow out once. We were really scared, and we saw this black mass approaching us and closing in on us. We jumped up and all ran out of the house. We were really spooked and didn't go back inside for like 2 hours. One time, when I was about 7, I'd been staying at my grandparents' house for Easter vacation. I'd got up to sleep in this one room, but for some reason, I didn't like it. Well, one night, I woke up because I felt someone watching me. There's a door that leads to my room, and right next to it is a door that leads to the backyard. I sat up in bed, and right in front of the back door was this figure. It was about 6 foot, and they appeared to have armor on. I was afraid because I knew it was bad, but I wasn't able to run away because the door to get out of the room was right next to where the spirit was. I just looked at it, and it wouldn't let me go. Finally, after like 2 minutes, it faded away, and I ran out of the room and refused to sleep in there again. Another time, at my mom's house, I was home alone, and I was watching TV in the living room. I heard the bath water running, and so I ran to the bathroom to turn it off. I thought it must have been loose or something, so I tightened it. I closed the door and resumed watching TV again. It somehow turned on again, so I tightened it again. This continued on for another 4 times, and I still didn't know what it was. In my dad's house, an old lady supposedly died there. I never sleep with the light off, because I like to be able to see who and what is in my room. Anyways, I always get knocks on my door, even though it's open, and one night, I felt like someone was sitting on my chest while I was sleeping. My older sister seems to get bugged more. Someone tickles her feet, pokes the bottom of her mattress while she's sleeping, and breathes behind her when she's on the computer. In the same house, in my bedroom, I hung this picture about 6 inches across and 3 inches wide of this rapper Dr. Dre on my wall. The next day, there were scratches that had torn through the picture, although it was still on the wall. This freaked me out because I was the only one visiting my dad that weekend. and he doesn't have any pets. I put tape over it just to cheaply laminate it and see if she could or would scratch it again. The morning after that, I was surprised to find it scratched again. It freaked me out, but I left the picture there. I don't think she likes rap very much, and I think she and they take and hide things. These may not sound scary, but when they happen to you, it is. I have many more, but I can't remember anyone right now. Thanks for listening, and I'm sorry it was so long. Hello, my name is Annie, and I live in Southern California, just outside of Los Angeles. I've been reading over the stories posted here, and they sound a lot like my own story. First of all, my mom, oldest brother, and myself all have some degree of ESP, which I think makes us sensitive to paranormal activity and might even attract spirits to us. I'm sure my house has been haunted ever since I was a baby, and here's what happened. In 1979, the year before I was born, my parents and two older brothers moved into a brand new house. My mom said the second day in that house, she knew weird things were going on. Footsteps, voices, odd sounds, things like that. All she knew was that our house and all the others in the streets were built on farmland. It seemed that strange things would happen in our house for a few days, and then would stop, but then the neighbor would complain of odd things in our house. It seemed like the ghost was going up and down the block to all the houses. I was born in 1980, and ever since I can remember, I've noticed strange things myself. I would hear heavy footsteps downstairs when everyone was asleep upstairs. Sometimes, I would hear chairs dragging across the floor, pots and pans banging, things like that. One day, when I was about 5 years old, I heard a woman's voice call my name from the second-story window, although my mom was making dinner in the downstairs kitchen. My two older brothers would constantly ask my mom, "Who is that lady in the white nightgown that was walking in the hallway last night?" Sometime later, a child spirit came to our house also. He liked to go running up the stairs in the middle of the night and generally cause mischief, like hiding things and moving objects around. His footsteps sounded like a toddler scuffing around in a sleeper jumpsuit. My mom confronted the ghost lady one time, and all the ghost said was that "I love your baby." I only remember seeing the ghost only once, when I was 14, as a dark shadowy figure moving down the staircase. My best friend even witnessed the curtains in my room swinging back and forth rapidly when the window and door were shut tight, and I was awoken one night with my bed shaking pretty hard. In 1999, we moved to another house across town, and either the ghost followed us or there's other spirits here anyways. The first night here, I watched a book move itself from the middle of a table and fall onto the floor. Every night in my new room, just after I shut off the lights to go to bed, my bedroom door would open. I'd hear some footsteps on the carpet, my guinea pigs would squeal, and then the entity would leave my room and shut the door again. My mom has seen her many times. She's an elderly lady named Helen that often goes out the large window in the den. Sometimes I felt cold spots in the house, usually in the hallway by the bedrooms. My younger brother, sister, and myself all feel like somebody is watching us if we stay up late at night. My sister says that sometimes a light fixture on the ceiling in her room will swing back and forth by itself. Oh, and sometimes my TV, stereo, and VCR will flip on and off when nobody is around. Here's another creepy event. I have a rabbit that lives in the den, and she begs for food whenever humans walk into the room. A few days ago, I was watching TV in the den, and the rabbit ran to the edge of the carpet, turned around, and stood on her hind legs, begging for food at thin air. She ran into the middle of the room and did the same thing again. Finally, she ran to the other side of the room and begged some more, and then she sat, looking at that part of her room for a while, with her ears turned forward in an alert manner. I've heard that dogs and cats are sensitive to spirits, and I guess my rabbit is too. By the way, I've had several dogs in my house that I've watched for neighbors and family for a few days at a time, and each one has done that stare at the empty corner and bark thing. Since my schedule is usually different than everyone else's here, I often get home very late at night when everyone else is asleep. There is always a light on in front of the house, and when I come home, I always see a dark outline or figure of Helen standing in the window, as if our friendly spirit is waiting up for me. So when I walk in the door to say, "I'm home, thanks for waiting for me," I get the feeling around me that all is well. Sometimes her spirit plays pranks on us, such as hiding my makeup, and I'll find my lipstick a week later, perhaps under the sink or in my mom's china hutch. A few times she comes up behind me and tugs on my ponytail, and when I turn around, nobody is there. I often feel someone touching my hair too. We also get other spirits passing through, such as the male ghost dressed like a lumberjack that my mom only saw once in the backyard, or another entity with heavy footsteps that whistles in the kitchen once in a while. Right now, I don't mind living with a friendly spirit or two. I think it's kinda nice to know that somebody is waiting for me every night. Helen has never caused us any problems, besides the occasional, uneasy being watched feeling, a few pranks, a flowery perfume scent that's in the house some days, and the usual disembodied voice calling from another room. I've never felt threatened or sensed evil, so she is welcome to stay. If anyone else has a friendly spirit around, feel free to email me. I've had a few ghostly experiences in my life so far. Most are probably my overactive imagination. The incident I experienced in Columbus, Ohio was as real as it can get. I went to college at Columbus College of Art and Design in Columbus, Ohio. There were plenty of stories going around that the freshman dorms were haunted. CCAD is known as being a very fast-paced, highly stressed school, and that many of the ghosts are past students who killed themselves because their already sensitive dispositions couldn't handle the pressure. I never really gave any credence to these stories until I experienced something that I still can't explain today. I lived on the 3rd floor of the dorms and shared my room with 3 other girls. 2 girls slept on one side of the room, and I shared my room with Rose on the other side. A kitchenette and dining area with the main door leading to the hall separated the two. One night, I was sleeping, and my roommate Rose left to go visit her boyfriend in his room. It's co-ed dorms. I slept without incident until sometime around 9:30. I awoke to the sound of someone entering our room through the main door, coming into the bedroom, and rifling through papers and things by Rose's side of the room. Thinking that Rose had come back to get something, I said, "Hi Rose, you forget something?" but got no answer. The moving of papers continued, and I called out another greeting to Rose, and still got no response. Finally, I turned my head to look at her and ask her what her problem was. I thought she wasn't answering me on purpose, but no one was there. Plus, the shifting of paper stopped, and everything fell off of Rose's desk and onto the floor. I got up and ran out into the commons area to ask if anyone had seen someone come in or out of the room. No one had. Then I went down to Rose's boyfriend's room and asked Rose if she had come upstairs. She swore to me that she had been in her man's room ever since she had left upstairs. I really can't remember which room it was, but if you're on the 3rd floor facing the elevator, the room is the 2nd room on your right hand side. Once you're in the room, it's the bedroom to your left. Another quick incident. Not long after that, I was taking a nap by myself in the room. Just as I was falling asleep, someone pushed me out of bed. Most people that I told this about just said I fell out of bed. However, I swear that I felt someone push me on my back, and I hit the floor a decent distance away from the side of my bed. Since then, it's been 5 years since I lived in those dorms, and I haven't had any paranormal instances since. Thanks. This happened while I was about 10 years old or so, but to this day, I can never forget it. It was summertime, and summers in India are so hot. My cousin had to come spend the holiday with me. I was wearing a short top with a pair of shorts, and I was still feeling incredibly warm. Since my bedroom was not big enough for all of my cousins, 9 of us, we spread mattresses in the living room next to the kitchen and slept there. I was not able to sleep at all. My parents have also decided to call it a night and were in their room. There was absolute silence in the house. Suddenly, almost out of nowhere, on that hot night, an ice-cold jet of air rushed past me, making me throw my blankets on, but within seconds, it was gone. I forgot about it and went back to trying to go to sleep, but I was disturbed by the sounds from the kitchen. They were the most odd sounds to hear at night. A clatter of vessels, or pouring of water or juice. It sounded almost as if someone was cooking a meal right in our kitchen. It then occurred to me that if a meal was being cooked, who was cooking it? I could not understand this, and since I was afraid to go in the kitchen, I called out to my mother. I heard the sounds of vessels being dropped, and the cold jet of air passed by once again. Within seconds, it was gone. I could not sleep that night for many nights afterwards, even though I've never heard anything after that night. To this day, I've not told anyone about it, and have never clearly explained it to myself. I once saw a man who subscribed, and he shared and liked this video. He actually contributed to me not singing anymore. What does that even mean? It's not grammar anymore. I just didn't rhyme. Okay, cut it out, Phantom. Stop, you're embarrassing everybody. Anyway guys, thank you so much for tuning in again. Glad to be your narrator as usual. Guys, I know it's been a while, but I'm trying to crank out longer videos, and I hope you guys appreciate it. So seriously, take a moment to comment in the section below, the comment section below, whatever that is, and just let me know how you feel about life, or this video. That's probably more appropriate because that actually makes more sense. You know, I'm a big proponent of sharing is caring, so if you share this video around, comment, talk about the stories that are within this video, you may just come away the best YouTube experience known to man and woman. The greatest experience ever. So comment, like, and share. And I repeated myself. I don't care anymore, guys. I gotta go. Love you so much. I'm gonna keep you guys not waiting because that's what I do. See you guys. Bye-bye.